This is Halloween, and if you love strolling through cemeteries and haunted history as much as I do, you may want to subscribe, because I'm going to be taking you somewhere new every week. Today we're hitting the Little Union Cemetery and the Hurrah Cemetery in Brandon, Florida. Enjoy! We're here at Little Union Primitive Baptist Cemetery in Lithia, Florida. Let's go in and see what we can see. You see that cute little church behind me? This is actually on church grounds, which would make it technically a graveyard. So it's a church graveyard right here on the premises, and we are in a very rural area. So it's beautifully quiet out here. And the church is just gorgeous. Look how beautiful this little church is. And man, it is stark white. Like, it is clean. It looks beautiful, very well kept, and it has gorgeous plants all around it. Really cool. Grounds are freshly mowed, it looks like. Isn't that a pretty little church? All the beautiful flowers, crepe myrtles. So right back here, just behind the church, is where the cemetery is, and it's nice and quiet. There are a few cars going by, but it's kind of quiet for the most part. Especially when you get back here, I'm sure. But it's so small. It's just a quaint little cemetery. Beautiful spot to be laid to rest. Because just look at it. Nothing but open land all around it. Oh, okay then. My husband found something to do. He's in a swing over there in the tree. He's keeping himself busy. I couldn't find when this cemetery was established, but this person here was laid to rest in 1943 and has a beautiful little passage on their ledger here. A precious one from us has gone, a voice we loved is stilled, a place is vacant in our home which never can be filled. And this looks like really new headstones here. I don't see any that are very old. Maybe a couple. Cannon is a big name in this cemetery. I see a lot of Cannon. So if you're a Cannon, you may have loved ones laid to rest in this cemetery. Especially, you know, if you're from Florida. Live in this area. Yeah. Here we have a Varnum family plot. So Varnum, V-A-R-N-U-M. We got Granddaddy and, oh, it says Grana. Grana. I've never heard of that for a grandma. And then, this is just a really beautiful headstone. So bold. Not sure if anyone's even buried here yet, because it just has one date. So maybe this is just a plot they already bought for themselves. But it's really cool, really pretty. like there's so much land here. I mean, this is a small cemetery, but there's plenty room for more burials. I don't know how much of this land is actually donated or dedicated for a cemetery, but lots of land here, right? I think, well, it looks like there might be a pond just on the other side over there. A couple of tree swings. This one's really pretty. Abigail Miriam Cunningham. August 25th, 2015. Beloved daughter. Beautiful. I know you can't see it because there's flowers there, but this is another Dixon plot, and that's a name that I see often in Florida. If your name is Dixon, you may have a lot of relatives laid to rest here in Florida if you're not living here now. Possibility for sure. Carlton plot. Pretty. That's the cemetery. I mean, it'll probably take you about a minute to walk through here and see it all. That's why we're gonna bundle in another cemetery today. We're gonna have the Hurrah Cemetery, or Hurrah Cemetery, 3 minutes from this one in the Lithia area. There are also a lot of Carltons here. So I'm assuming that these are just long-standing members of the church right here. It's a Baptist church here in Lithia, the Little Union Baptist Church, and this is the Carlton family plot. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the cemetery. We've just about seen it all, and we're gonna head over soon to our other cemetery. We're headed out of this one, headed to the next one. Join me in a minute for the Hurrah Cemetery in Lithia Springs. We're here. It literally took us less than a minute to get to the Alafia Baptist Church Hurrah Cemetery / graveyard. Let's go in and see what we can see. Dude, I thought they were going to kick us out of here. I saw this lady. She was going real slow when I was doing my intro up at the front of the graveyard here in front of the church, and real slow, like almost creepy. I either thought I was gonna get kidnapped or like, and then she goes up, and I didn't know it was a lady. You couldn't see in the windows because it was all tinted and everything. She goes up and she turns around real slow, and then she's coming toward me, and then she pulls up right behind where I was walking back to get back to the graveyard back here, and it was a little old lady. She was super nice, and I guess she's a member of the church, and she was just asking if I needed any help. Gave me some really good information on the church and the graveyard. So this church here was the Alafia Baptist Church, was established in 1850 and is the third oldest church in the United States. And I asked her when they started entering here, and she said probably around that time. But the church had burned completely down, and it had been rebuilt and all of that. So this is not the original church, but that's just some solid, really good information about this cemetery. And cool to know that it's the third oldest church in Florida. That's kind of some really good information there too. It's a safe place to be. If you come here and there's a woman in a gold truck rolling by real slow, it's gonna be that lady right there. I didn't get her name, unfortunately, but she was very nice and helpful. Let's check this cemetery out. So as you can see, this is a pretty good sized cemetery here. I think online it said it had 531 burials, something like that. So I was like, okay, this would be a great one to lump in with the other one, which was very, very small. But she also told me that right here in the center somewhere, there are some unmarked graves, because back in the 1850s, when the church and graveyard first opened, and she said it's right over here in the center, the unmarked graves. So they can't actually sell plots out of this space here, because back in the day they used to make headstone. It wasn't a headstone really, it was a wooden cross that they would impale at the head of the casket, above the casket, to mark the grave. But over time, of course, they're made out of wood, and the wood has rotted, and the graves are no longer marked. So they actually cannot bury in this space. She also said that they don't charge anything for burials here. They just ask for a $250 donation, and you don't have to be a member of the church. Which, I mean, it's fantastic. It's a great deal, and it's a beautiful cemetery right here in the Lithia area. And there are some older headstones here as well. This one here, Dorothy Marie Smith, and it's got the lamb on top. That indicates, you know, of course, it was a baby or a youngster. 1929 to 1931. That's a little baby plot. It's pretty cool. I love these older headstones because they just have so much character. You can see just how big it is. It's pretty big. It's a big little cemetery. So yeah, $250 donation, and that buys your plot here at the Alafia Baptist Church graveyard. And just, it's so quiet and peaceful. Be careful of flying spider webs around here. I just walked into another spider web and there ain't a tree or anything near me. So, oh, here's some really cool older headstones. 1849 to 1935. Thou dearest one from us is gone, a voice we love is still a place. Isn't that weird? That was the same. A place is vacant in our home that never will be filled. That's the same exact poem from the other headstone. That must have been a really popular poem. And it says it again on this one. Passed in November 30th, 1912. Beautiful. They're beautiful, these older headstones. Oh, big old grasshopper down there. How cool is that name? Birdie Bravo. That is a rock star name or a celebrity name. And here's the father, James Marshall Bravo. Both older headstones as well. She passed in 1921 and he followed in 1924. There's a Pollard here that's pretty old as well, passing in 1938, and the wife in 1933. It looks like a lot of older headstones here, which is always my favorite. This one's really beautiful. Look at that. Joseph W. It doesn't have a death date, so this was probably an infant here. But a really pretty headstone. This was a great cemetery to stumble upon. Just so happens to be the third oldest church in Florida, and all these great older headstones that are just so cool and ornate. And those two beautiful ones over there, I took stills of those. I love the shape of them, and it's that nice peachy red sort of stone, which I love. Just look at all these old headstones. 1885 here. These have the dove at the top. Looks like 18. It's hard to read, but just so neat. Now there were a couple of broken headstones that I saw. That's not indicative to the care and maintenance of this particular cemetery. I feel like this is a beautifully maintained cemetery. Just look at the grass, how green and lush. It's just beautiful. She said that the donations, they don't charge anything, but it's a donation of $250 to be buried here, and that money goes towards the care and maintenance of the graveyard. So this is 1912 here. Another big, beautiful old headstone, 1935. I stood next to the one over there because in a photograph you probably can't tell just how big it is, but it's taller than me. So there really is a lot to see here. If you're in the area, I highly recommend stopping by the Alafia Baptist Hurrah Cemetery graveyard and checking it out for yourself. I'm not going to take photographs of every single old headstone in here because there are so many. And also I want everybody, whoever can, to get out here and see it for themselves. But you could just see 1930. This one passed 1900. Turn of the century. 1923 there. Just really, really cool. Of course, we've seen this sort of drapery effect on the headstones. I saw a lot of this actually at the cemetery in Fall River, Massachusetts, where Lizzie Borden is laid to rest in the Oak Grove Cemetery, not a mile from where she lived. This is Alderman. This is gorgeous, like something you would see in the bigger cemeteries across America. We saw in Cincinnati and things like that. This thing is quite a bit taller than me, probably about 7 feet tall. So very cool. We have this sort of Washington Monument style monument. Mizzelli, passed in 1891. My husband wanted to show me something over here. He said it looks like it could have been an old ball field back behind here. Look at this. How great is this? I've got to take a still shot of this, but just look at this portrait. So cool. Passed in 1915. This could be a situation where they replaced the monument because that does not look like it's from 1915. But it could be. I mean, if it's nice and strong. This is cool. 1895. These are all just as tall as me or taller. And this one, oh, must have loved to race or racing. Robert J. Smith. We've traveled our way back towards home. We're here at Pesky Pelican in St. Pete. Gonna go in and get a bite to eat. GoPro stop.
far behind. Swim out past the breakers, watch the world now. We can live beside the ocean, leave the far behind. Swim out past the breakers, watch the world now. We can live beside the ocean, leave the far behind. Swim out past the breakers, watch the world die. Yeah, yeah, watch the world die. Yeah, watch the world die. Well, yeah, watch the world die. Yeah, watch the world die. Thank you. I get up at 7, yeah, and I go to work at 9. I got no time for living, yes, I'm working all the time. It seems to me I could live my life a lot better than I think I am. I guess that's why they call me the working man. They call me the working man. I guess that's what I am. Cause I get home at 5 o'clock and I get myself out and I go beer. Always seem to be wondering what the fuck is going down here. It seems to me I can live my life a lot better than I think I am. I guess that's why they call me the working man. They call me the working man. I guess that's what.
Thank you so much for joining me again today. I hope you enjoyed the cemeteries. I certainly did. The second one was very special. It had a lot of really cool old headstones from like the 1800s, the early 1900s, and that's always an awesome thing to see. The pesky pelican was pretty cool too. It was a great experience. If you live in St. Pete or you're planning on visiting St. Pete, I would recommend it. The band was awesome. And they have a great outdoor patio. The patio is probably bigger than the restaurant itself. So, and there's a whole awning and, you know, in case it rains and stuff. So everybody was having a great time and we had a great time. I hope you did too. If you haven't already, please remember to like, subscribe, and share on your way out. And I'll see you next time.